40 days and 40 nights of rain. 40 years wandering in the desert. 40 days of fasting and temptation. Have you ever noticed that? The number 40. It pops up everywhere in the Bible, over and over again. Is it just a coincidence? Is it the ancient equivalent of saying a long time? Or is there something deeper going on? A hidden code, a symbolic language that, once you understand it, unlocks a whole new layer of meaning to these ancient stories? Well, get ready to have your mind blown. Because today, we're pulling back the curtain on biblical numerology. We're going to decode why the number 40 is so incredibly important, and we won't stop there. We'll unravel the secrets behind the number of perfection, 7, the number of God's people, 12, and yes, we will finally tackle the most infamous number of all time, 666. This isn't just about numbers. This is about understanding the very fabric of the stories that have shaped our world. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never read the Bible the same way again. Why the number 40 is everywhere in the Bible. All right, let's jump right into the big one, the number 40. To understand numbers in the Bible, you first have to understand one crucial thing. To the ancient Hebrew mind, numbers weren't just for counting. They weren't just mathematical quantities. They were packed with symbolic meaning. Think of it like a symbolic keyword. When an ancient reader saw a particular number, a whole cluster of ideas and concepts would immediately come to mind. And the number 40? Its keyword is testing. It represents a period of trial, probation, and ultimately transformation. It's a significant length of time, long enough for a fundamental change to occur, for a test to be completed, or for a generation to pass. Let's start with the first and most famous example, Noah's Arkansas. In Genesis chapter 7, the floodgates of the heavens are opened. And for how long does it rain? 40 days and 40 nights. This wasn't just a long storm, it was a period of global testing. The world was being judged, cleansed, and prepared for a new beginning. The 40 days of rain represent the complete and total nature of this trial, leading to the transformation of the entire planet. But the pattern doesn't stop there. It gets even more intense. Fast forward to the book of Exodus. Moses, the great leader of Israel, ascends Mount Sinai to receive the 10 Commandments directly from God. How long is he up there, enveloped in smoke and fire? Exodus 24 verse 18 tells us, he was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. This was an immense test of his physical endurance and his spiritual focus. While he was away, the people down below failed their test, building a golden calf. The 40 days became a separator, a trial that revealed Moses' faithfulness and the people's faithlessness. But God's use of 40 for Israel was just getting started. After they escape Egypt, spies are sent to scout out the promised land. They explore the land for, you guessed it, 40 days. When they return, the majority give a bad report, spreading fear and doubt among the people. Because of their unbelief, God issues a monumental judgment. The entire generation that refused to trust him would not enter the promised land. Instead, they were sentenced to wander in the wilderness. For how long? 1 year for each day the spies were in the land. 40 years. This is perhaps the most powerful example of 40 as a number of trial and consequence. An entire generation lived and died during this period. It was a long, arduous process of purification, a test to forge a new generation that would be ready to inherit the promise. The pattern is relentless. Before David fights Goliath, the giant taunts the Israelite army for 40 days. It was a test of their courage. The prophet Elijah, after a great victory, flees into the desert and travels for 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God, where his faith is restored. A test of his endurance. And then we come to the New Testament, and the pattern culminates in the most significant test of all. Before Jesus begins his public ministry, the Spirit leads him into the wilderness. And Matthew chapter 4 tells us that he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. It's at the end of this grueling period, at his weakest physical point, that he is tempted by Satan himself. This is the ultimate trial. He faces temptations of the flesh, of power, and of pride. By overcoming this 40-day test, Jesus proves he is the faithful Son, succeeding where Adam and the nation of Israel had failed. His transformation from a private citizen to a public minister is consecrated by this period of trial. So, when you see the number 40 in the Bible, don't just think a month and a bit. Think transformation through trial. Think probation. Think a period of testing that leads to a profound new reality. It's a literary signal from the author, telling you to pay close attention, because someone is about to go through the fire and be changed forever. The divine signature, 7. Okay, so 40 is the number of testing. But what about the other numbers that seem to have a special status? Let's move from the number of trial to the number of perfection. Let's talk about the number 7. If 40 is about a process, 7 is about the completion of that process. It is the number of divine completeness, spiritual perfection, and the finished work of God. It's God's signature, stamped all over creation and Scripture. Where does it start? Right on page 1. In Genesis, God creates the heavens and the earth in 6 days. And on the 7th day, He rests. He ceases from His work. The creation account is structured around a 7-day week, establishing 7 as the number for a complete, perfect cycle. This is why the Sabbath, the 7th day, is holy. It represents completion, wholeness, and entering into God's rest. This divine number echoes throughout the entire Bible. The Jewish calendar is filled with 7s. The Feast of Unleavened Bread lasts for 7 days. There are 7 weeks between Passover and Pentecost. Every 7th year was a Sabbath year, where the land was to lie fallow. In the Battle of Jericho, Joshua and his army march around the city once a day for 6 days. But on the 7th day, they march around it 7 times, the priests blow 7 trumpets, and the walls come tumbling down. The victory is achieved through a divinely prescribed pattern of 7s, signifying a complete and perfect victory from God. But nowhere is the number 7 more prominent than in the final book of the Bible, Revelation. This book is practically built on a framework of 7s. It opens with letters to 7 churches. The main narrative unfolds through the opening of 7 seals, the sounding of 7 trumpets, and the pouring out of 7 bowls of judgment. This isn't random repetition. It's a literary device to show that what is happening is the complete, final, and perfect execution of God's plan for history. Even Jesus uses the number symbolically. When Peter asks him, "Lord, how often shall I forgive my brother?" Up to 7 times. Jesus' reply is fascinating. He says, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. Now, he doesn't mean you should keep a tally and stop at 491. He's using the number of perfection exponentially to make a point. He's saying your forgiveness should be complete, perfect, and without end, just like God's. So, while 40 represents a journey of trial, 7 represents the destination. It's the seal of wholeness, perfection, and divine authority. When you see 7, think complete. The foundation of God's people, 12. From divine perfection, we now move to divine organization. Let's talk about the number 12. If 7 is God's number, you could say 12 is the number of God's people. It represents foundational authority, governmental perfection, and the organized community of faith. Its origin is clear and powerful. In the Old Testament, the nation of Israel is founded upon the 12 sons of Jacob, who become the fathers of the 12 tribes of Israel. This is the foundational structure of God's chosen people. The number 12 forever becomes linked with the identity of Israel. When you get to the New Testament, what does Jesus do when he begins to establish a new covenant community? He doesn't choose 10 disciples or 15. He deliberately and purposefully chooses 12 apostles. This was not an arbitrary number. By choosing 12, Jesus was making a profound statement. He was establishing a new Israel. The 12 apostles were to be the foundation of the church, just as the 12 tribes were the foundation of the nation of Israel. It symbolizes a continuity and a fulfillment. The community of God is being reconstituted around Jesus, built on this foundational number. And just like with the number 7, the number 12 finds its ultimate expression in the book of Revelation. The vision of the New Jerusalem, the city of God, is steeped in the number 12. It has 12 gates, inscribed with the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. It has 12 foundations, inscribed with the names of the 12 apostles. This is a stunning image. It symbolically unites the Old and New Covenants, the people of God from every era, into one perfect, organized whole. The structure of God's eternal kingdom is built upon the number 12. Revelation also mentions the famous 144,000 who are sealed. Where does that number come from? It's 12 times 12 times 1,000. 12, the tribes of Israel, multiplied by 12, the apostles of the church, multiplied by 1,000, a number representing a vast, complete multitude. It's not a literal head count. It's a beautiful symbol for the complete and perfectly organized number of all of God's people, from all time, united together. So when you see 12, Think structure, foundation, and the people of God in their perfect, divinely ordered community. The mark of man's rebellion, 666. And now, for the number you've all been waiting for. The number that has launched 1,000 conspiracy theories, terrified generations, and become the ultimate symbol of evil in pop culture. The number of the beast. 666. So what is the deal with 666? Is it a future social security number? A scannable chip in your hand? To understand it, we need to put our ancient symbolic hats back on and forget everything the horror movies have taught us. First, let's understand the number 6 on its own. In the biblical pattern, if 7 is the number of divine perfection and rest, then 6 is the number of man. Why? Because man was created on the 6th day of creation. 6 is inherently incomplete. It's always falling short of the divine perfection of 7. It represents human effort, human wisdom, and human systems apart from God. It's good, but it's not perfect. It's one shy of completion. Now, in Hebrew thought, repeating something 3 times was the ultimate way of expressing it. It was for maximum emphasis. Saying holy is one thing. But the angels around God's throne cry, holy, 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 meaning the ultimate, most perfect holiness imaginable. So what happens when you take the number of man, of incompleteness, of falling short, the number 6, and you repeat it 3 times? 666. You get the ultimate expression of human rebellion. You get man's complete and utter failure to be God. It is imperfection upon imperfection upon imperfection. It symbolizes the pinnacle of humanity's attempt to build its own kingdom, rely on its own strength, and worship itself, completely falling short of the divine standard of 7. It is the number of man trying to be God and failing miserably. But there's another layer to this, a historical one that most of the original readers would have understood immediately. It's a practice called gematria. Gematria is an ancient system where letters in an alphabet are assigned a numerical value. You could then calculate the numerical value of a name or a word. It was a form of code. The book of Revelation itself says 666 is the number of a man. The most widely accepted scholarly theory is that 666 is the number calculated from the name of a specific man who was the ultimate enemy of the first-century church, Nero Caesar. When you take the Greek title Neron Caesar and transliterate it into Hebrew letters, the numerical values of those letters add up to 666. Nero was a monstrous tyrant who brutally persecuted Christians. To the original audience reading Revelation, he was the embodiment of evil, the ultimate beast on the world stage. So writing 666 was a coded, symbolic way of saying, the spirit of Nero, the ultimate anti-God government, is what we're talking about here, without getting yourself arrested and executed by the Roman authorities. So is 666 a future microchip? Probably not. It's a timeless symbol. It represents any person, government, or system that sets itself up in opposition to God, demands total allegiance, and embodies the ultimate rebellion of humanity. It's less of a secret code to be deciphered and more of a timeless warning to be heeded. So, as we've seen, these numbers are not random. They are part of a rich, symbolic tapestry woven throughout the biblical narrative. 40 is the crucible of testing and transformation. 7 is the stamp of divine perfection and completion. 12 is the blueprint for the people and community of God. And 666 is the ultimate symbol of humanity's rebellion and failure. Understanding this symbolic language doesn't take away the mystery of the Bible. It adds to it. It reveals a level of literary artistry and theological depth that is simply breathtaking. It shows us that every detail matters, that every word is intentional. It invites us to read not just with our minds, but with our imaginations. The next time you're reading and you come across one of these numbers, you'll know. It's a signpost, a keyword, a little wink from the ancient author, inviting you to look a little deeper and uncover the incredible truth hidden just beneath the surface. But what do you think? What other numbers or symbols in the Bible have you always been curious about? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to dive into this more with you. And if you enjoyed this journey into the biblical code, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into ancient mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you next time.